Hi everyone, it's Stacy. Thank you for coming on this yoga leap with me. Welcome back to anyone who's been practicing with me. Welcome to any newcomers who are just finding the videos for the first time. Happy that you are here. So today, as you can see, I don't have my chair with me. It's because mostly we're going to stay on the mat and pretty grounded and low to the ground, doing a lot of stretching and a nice sort of flowing, moving, stretching kind of flow today. So I don't have my chair. If you are practicing in the chair, that's great. You can modify and practice in the chair, no problem. I also won't be using any props per se, but if you do like to practice, as always, with blocks or straps or anything like that, go ahead and grab those, and you can find ways to incorporate those into the postures, and I may be able to suggest a few options. But really, I'm just going to be doing some stretching. I've been feeling like the need to stretch out my hips as always, and just flow a little bit in the stretches. So we're going to do that. So with that, I'm going to step back to the mat and we'll get started. I'm going to start seated. So make your way to your mat or your chair or however you're practicing, and we will get started. Seated down on the ground. Oh, my mat's crooked. I don't know about you, but if the mat is crooked, it throws me off, especially if you've got some kind of like markers on the ground that, like me, that are hardwood and you can see the lines. If they're not straight, forget it. It will throw my balance off. We're not going to be doing too much balancing today. Like I said, we're mostly going to stay nice and low and grounded and just stretch out and move a little bit, but low to the ground. Sometimes staying low to the ground, similar to having your hands turned down, helps with feeling grounded and feeling like if you're like, oh, I've got so much going on in my head, and you feel like you're kind of floating around and a little bit maybe spinning out of control, this might be a nice way to bring that energy down. So I'm going to encourage that today. Of course, whatever energy you are looking for to bring to your practice, that is up to you. So with our seated start, you could be seated in cross-leg position, easy cross-leg. You could be sitting up on a block or on your shins if that's more comfortable for you, or seated nice and comfortably in your chair. And again, just to keep with that sort of theme of grounding, I'm going to turn my palms down to bring the energy down. If you are looking to invite more energy, of course, you have the option to turn the hands up towards the sky. So let's just find those sit bones, make any adjustments here. Maybe roll the shoulders out a little bit, take a few breaths, and finally, the last thing is, if it is comfortable in your space where you are to close your eyes, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just maybe turning the gaze down towards the floor and resting your gaze on something nice and still. Finally, here we are, a chance to arrive on our mat, in our chair, and just carve out a little bit of time for ourselves. Let's turn our attention to our breath and see how our breath is flowing. So noticing the rhythm of the breath, the pace of the breath, the depth of the breath. There are no right or wrong answers, of course. We just want to notice. So are you finding that your breath is shallow and fast, or is it deep and slow? Is it filling up your belly? Is it a little higher up in the chest? Again, there's no right or wrong answer. Let's just take a notice of it. Take a few more breaths in the sort of natural rhythm of the breath. Still noticing. And then let's see if we can take a few deep breaths and sort of sigh out any excess energy we might have. So with our hands grounded into our knees or our lap, our thighs, let's take a huge big inhale and imagine filling the body up in all directions. So not just forward, imagine expanding through the ribs, expanding out through the back as well, filling up belly, ribs, and chest. And then sigh it out. Let it go. Even slump through the shoulders a bit. Help sort of press all that energy out. And then inhale to fill belly, ribs, and chest. And exhale, sigh it out. Let's do another one there. And if you need one more, go ahead. One final big breath. Inhale to fill belly, ribs, and chest. Inhale, inhale. Maybe if you can take one more inhale and hold the breath just for a second and then let it out. Let the breath find its natural rhythm again, and then turning our attention to our sit bones, our bodies, our hands on our laps, all points of physical connection to mats, chairs, hands on knees, wherever we feel a connection. And just maybe scanning the body, noticing if we are feeling any tension anywhere. Can we just try to let it go? Breathe into the spaces. And then last thing we'll do as we sit here, landing in our own space and time, is to, if it's in our practice, set an intention. So that's like a little mantra, a little saying you can say to yourself, to use as a tool to help bring you back. So anything: I am grounded, I am present, I am calm, cool, and collected, I am full of energy. It doesn't have to be about grounding and calmness. Anything that resonates with you, just repeat it to yourself a couple of times here. And knowing that those deep belly breaths, that mantra, that little saying, are tools in your toolbox that if you find you start to drift away from the practice and get lost in your thoughts, you can come back to those tools and help you arrive back on the mat here, both physically but more so emotionally. So repeating that mantra one more time, taking a full inhale here. And exhale it out. All right, let's bring some movement here to our seats. Our hands are grounded already on our thighs. Let's just start to rotate through the hips and waist a little bit. See how we're feeling, adding a bit of movement. This will help us check in with our balance as well as we sort of move from side to side. Even if we're seated on the ground, notice if we feel wobbly or out of kilter as we rotate to one side versus the other, and notice the weight shifting from side to side. Just taking notice, maybe exaggerating the heart space pulling forward as we inhale, and then exaggerating a round spine as we exhale and round back. Inhale, pull forward, exhale, round back. Good, we'll do a couple more like this. And then let's come up through center, and before we go in the other direction, let's just inhale, sweep our arms up overhead, find a bit of length down the sides of our bodies here by really rooting down through the sit bones and reaching up through the fingers. And if the shoulders come up to the ears, that's okay. Let them come up, reach, 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 reach. Good, let's exhale those hands down. Let's do that again. Inhale, sweep up. Reach through the shoulders, reach through the fingers, root down through the sit bones at the same time. We're really finding length down both side bodies here. Good. Let's let the left hand come down this time and the right arm go over. And we're going to continue to root down through the right side, really creating space and opening down the right side. You can even maybe press into that left hand a little bit and imagine spinning the heart space forward. Finding a nice side stretch here. Good. Let's reach up one more time here. Inhale. Reach, 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 reach. And then exhale the hands down. Now we can change the cross of our legs if we're feeling ready. We're going to do those rotations in the opposite direction. So hands back to our thighs. And this time we'll pull that heart space through. Inhale. And, whoa, I'm going in the same direction. Inhale and exhale, round back. I think it's because I switched my legs. I felt like I was going in the opposite direction. Rounding through the spine, inhale. Sorry, exhale. Oh my goodness. See, this is why I need grounding energy today. So keep going here. And remember, it's just yoga. There's no right or wrong. And if you're spinning in the same direction and it feels great, then that's great. That's what your body needs. Inhale to pull that heart space forward. And then exhale, press the shoulder blades apart. Inhale. And exhale. So noticing maybe here as we rotate in the opposite direction, how does it feel? Does it feel any different? Do you feel more stable? Do you feel like you're wobbling more to one side? Just noticing there's no right or wrong. We'll do a couple more here. Inhale, press all the air, exhale, and when you come to your next inhale, we'll just find a nice tall seated posture. Let's release the hands. Inhale the arms up. Reach, see if we can clasp the knuckles and see if we can maybe even flip the palms up. So we're still reaching up. This might give us a little bit more leverage to reach a little higher and also root down through those sit bones. Inhale here, then we can release the knuckles, exhale. Good. One more time. Inhale, see if we can reach and clasp the knuckles, flip the palms up towards the ceiling, stretch nice and long. And without slingshotting, as we release the knuckles, let's let the right hand fall down, left arm sweeps over. Now even think about pressing into that right hand a little bit to help open the heart space up so the right ribs spin underneath. And it will help send the ribs out towards the left as we root down through left sit bones and find a nice big side stretch here. All right, let's inhale up through center. One more time, let's clasp the knuckles, reach the palms up towards the sky. Let's take a big inhale here. As we exhale, let's draw the arms down in front of us. We'll spin the palms so they face us. And now we're going to see if we can pull the knuckles away from the heart space, away from our face, round down. Inhale to reach up. So this is a bit of a seated cat-cow. If it's too much to clasp the knuckles, no problem. You can release and find a seated cat-cow with arms down by your side. Inhale, press the palms up. Exhale, round. Pull the palms away. Two more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Let's let the hands come down. We'll roll the shoulders a couple of times. Staying seated, let's just stretch out the shoulders a little bit. So we're going to inhale, sweep the arms up. Reach, 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 reach. Exhale, sweep them behind, and we can clasp, if we can, the knuckles. If not, just reach and grasp onto an imaginary volleyball, reaching away from the body, reaching the hands down towards the earth. If we've clasped the knuckles, maybe bringing palms together, reaching knuckles down towards the mat. I'll just turn to the side a bit to show. Maybe we're just open and holding onto an imaginary ball. Maybe the hands have come together and we're reaching the knuckles down, opening up, finding that nice shoulder stretch through the front side body here. Staying for another breath. And then we'll release on the inhale, sweep the arms up. And let's just bring the hands in front of us. I'll turn back. And then we're just going to sweep the right arm across. The left hand's going to help guide that right arm across a little bit. You could rest your arm in the crook of the left elbow, sort of take any of the work out of the right arm, and just gently draw the right arm across. So now we're feeling a stretch down the back of the shoulders. The last stretch helped open up through the front. Before we go to the other side, if it's in your practice and you want to maybe find eagle arms, you can find a couple of breaths in eagle arms here, splaying the shoulder blades by lifting the elbows and feeling a nice stretch down the backside body again. If not, just reaching back for both shoulders, giving ourselves a little hug. We can splay the shoulder blades by rounding through the spine. So we're going to stay here or in our eagle arms for 3. Breathing into backside body for 2. And releasing on 1. Good. Let's inhale. Sweep the arms up. Exhale. We're going to do that open through the front of the shoulders again. Clasp the opposite knuckle in front. So it'll feel weird. Let it feel a little weird. Clasp the fingers. Reach the knuckles down again. Or grab onto that imaginary volleyball, beach ball, and just open up through the front side body here for 3. For 2. And 1. Release those knuckles. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, we'll bring them down in front, and this time we'll cross and guide that left arm across. Let's start here, either guiding the arm, resting it in the crook of the right arm, taking a little bit of the weight of the arm, take the work out of the left arm, let the right arm hold it. Feel a nice stretch down the back of the shoulder. And then once again, if you feel ready, you could come into your cow face arms, lifting the elbows, rounding through the spine, or just reaching back, grabbing onto opposite shoulders and feeling a little stretch as we round through the back. Breathe into the backside body here for 3, for 2, and 1. Let's release, roll the shoulders. Good. Let's come off of our sit bones for a little bit and come into our tabletop. We'll do a few more rounds of cat-cow, but we'll set up our tabletop first. We're going to stack our joints, so stacking wrists and shoulders, stacking knees and hips, pressing into the mat and pressing into the fingertips here as well. Let's drop the belly down, open up the heart space, inhale, and then exhale, round. Well, this is our cat-cow in our tabletop. You may want to do barrel rolls or circles of some sort. You can move forwards and backwards. Anything that feels okay. You could even look over one shoulder back at the hip and draw the hip up, creating a bit of a C shape and a bit of a side stretch down the opposite side. And you'll inhale through center, exhale. So a combo of any of these moves here, just settling into our tabletop here for 2. And 1. Good, let's come to a neutral spine. So that means our nice flat back, we're going to pull the belly in. And we're going to come into either child's pose or a puppy dog pose, depending on how we're feeling. So a child's pose, as we know, we can send the hips back over our ankles, and we can walk the arms forward as the belly, heart, and forehead melt down. This will give us a nice stretch down the armpits, down the backside body as well. If we're feeling a little more open, we can come into our puppy dog pose, which is similar but a little different. The hips are going to stay up, so they're going to stay stacked over the knee, and we're going to start to walk the forearms and the arms down, bringing the chest and forehead towards the floor. And this is a lot more intense under the arms and through the front of the chest. So if you're not ready for puppy dog, which is this one with the hips up, just send the hips back, find your child's pose. It's a great option as well. Now, if you are in your puppy dog pose, make your way back to child's pose. We're going to do just one more shoulder stretch. Well, one more for now. So we can come into our child's pose, lift the forehead here. We're going to take our right arm and thread it underneath the left arm and then try to melt back down. So we can bring the forehead or side of the ear down, and if the ground feels a little far away and you do have a block, maybe you can rest on the block, and we're getting a big stretch down the back of the shoulder here. We'll stay for a couple more breaths. And then let's come up and switch. So we'll bring the right arm back out front, lift the left arm, thread it under the right, and then lower down to the floor or the block, and same thing. Maybe it's forehead, maybe it's side of head. Feeling a big stretch down the outside of the left shoulder now, staying for a few breaths. And we'll lift that forehead, reach the arm forward, just come into your child's pose again for a moment. And then let's lift the forehead, come back up to our tabletop, and we'll do a few rounds of bird dog. So we're going to kick the left leg out. The toes can stay on the ground to balance, and we can lift the leg off the mat, and we can stay here, or we can maybe reach opposite arm forward here. Inhale for length. Exhale, let's round and try to connect elbow to knee underneath the body. And then inhale for length, reaching through the foot and the hand, and then exhale. Let's do one more. Inhale for length. Exhale. This time we'll inhale for length, and then we'll exhale lower. And then switch sides. So if we need to readjust the tabletop, go ahead and do that. Let's kick that right foot out. The toes can stay grounded so that we can find our balance and strength. And then we'll lift that leg off the mat, use the strength of the glutes. And if we feel strong, we'll reach opposite arm forward. Inhale here for length. Exhale, connect elbow to knee, round through the spine, push the mat away. And then inhale for length. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Let's do one more big inhale here. And then exhale, lower. Let's stay in our tabletop, but maybe walk the knees a little wider. We're going to come into a little bit of flowing and twisting. Let's plant the right hand underneath our face. So we just may need to move it in closer to the middle of the mat, creating a bit of space in the knees for balance. And then we're going to inhale and sweep our left arm up and open. Now, if reaching the long arm is too much, we can have our hand behind our head, still spinning the ribs, the right ribs under, left ribs towards the ceiling, hand up or down. And then as we exhale, we'll just thread the needle. And if the arm is bent, we just come back towards center. We don't have to go all the way down. So a couple of options here. Inhaling as we open. Exhale to either come to center or thread the needle. And we're not staying put. We're breathing and moving. We need to move a little bit with our breath, creating a little bit of heat. Remember, if the elbows here, you can just come through center and then open up. Let's do two more. So if we're here, let's all come on down and switch sides. So now that left hand's going to come to the center of the mat to support us. Our right arm will sweep up as we inhale, or of course, hand comes down to the back of head, and then exhale. Inhale. Exhale. If the arm is long, reach up, inhale. Exhale, thread the needle. We'll do a couple more here. Wherever we are, arm can be lowered or lifted. Let's do one more big inhale here. Exhale, lower down. Good. Let's just find child's pose for a breath. Send the hips back, arms forward, lower the forehead down. Breathe into the backside body. From here, we're going to lift the forehead, and we're going to come into our tabletop, but really it's for a transition. We're going to then step our right foot forward. I'm going to walk up our hands onto our knees. We're going to come into a little bit of movement, stretching out the hips a little bit. So if you want to double up the mat, if the being on the knee is too much, you have an option to maybe fold your mat over, creating a bit more space, or if you want to, if you have a blanket or a towel or anything you want to put under your knee for a bit more support, go ahead and do that now. So first of all, we're in this sort of 90 degree here, 90 degree here. We're pressing down through the feet to help anchor us. We're sort of scissoring the legs and aiming the hips forward here. Hands can be on our knee for support. And we want to think about tucking the tailbone under, feeling a bit of a stretch right away. As soon as you do that, as soon as you kind of tuck the tailbone under, we feel a nice stretch here. And then we're going to start to think about sinking the hips forward a little bit. So it's not about leaning forward. There won't be any stretch here. So we're tucking the tailbone and then leaning into the front leg. We can adjust the stance if we find that we need to make the stance a bit wider. Go ahead and do that. Support yourself on your knee, or no problem, you can lean down onto blocks or the mat as well. See if we can sink the hips a bit lower. So if we're supporting ourselves down here on the mat, that's great. If we're up here, that's great too. See if we can sink the hips a little lower. And now if we're up on the knee, let's all just lean forward, and then we're just gonna send the hips back a little bit. Find a stretch down the back of the leg. Flex the toes back up towards the face. And then let's come forward one more time. Let's see if we can plant that left hand down on the inside of the foot and then press the chest open, spin it open. We're in a twist now, knees down, leaning the hips forward, reaching up or bending the arm. And if it's too much on the knee, there's an option to curl the toes here and lift the knee off the mat for this twist as well. It gives the knee a little break. It does require a bit more strength, but that's all good. Let's take another inhale here. Exhale, let's untwist, lower the knee down, plant both hands and send the hips back. You might have blocks here if the floor needs to come up a little higher for you. Good, let's come back in to our lunge here again. Let's climb on up. This time if we can all climb on up, great. And we're gonna see if we can come into a twist. I'm gonna end up twisting away from you. I should have started on the other leg. Like I said, my energy's a little all over the place today. That's why we're grounding and rooting down into the mat, finding balance and stability here. Hands can come up either wide or into cactus arms like this. We'll take a big inhale and then we'll twist towards our bent leg. So if our hands are cactus, we look like this. If the arms are reaching, we're reaching that right arm back, left arm forward, twisting towards the bent leg. Reach, 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 reach. Or we're in cactus, or even hands behind head. Keep reaching and stretching. Option here, if the arms are outstretched, to lean back, find that opposite back leg, reach the left arm up, find a big opening. And then if we're there, coming back through outstretched arms, around to center, inhale, and then exhale, lower the hands down, press the hips back for a quick opposite stretch. And then we'll send the right leg back to our tabletop, flow through cat-cow or find a child's pose. It's your choice here. And we'll set up for the other side. So whatever we need, if we need to send the hips back for child's pose, go ahead and do that as well. I'm going to take a few rounds of cat-cow. And then we'll all meet back in our neutral tabletop just to transition so that we can step that left foot forward and come on up into our 90-degree angles just to try and set everything up. So let's scissor the legs. So draw the right hip either back or forward to try and square off the hips. Tuck the tailbone, immediately already feeling a stretch down the right hip flexor. And then we're going to start to lean into that stretch. So we're feeling that nice stretch down the right hip flexor. We could be up, supported on leg, remember, on blocks, or all the way down to our mat. Let's lean the hips. Sink the hips is what I mean by that. Lean them forward and sink them. The chest can stay lifted. Staying here for a breath, and then when we're ready, let's send the hips back. We'll come into that hamstring stretch. We can stay nice and lifted. We could be up on blocks here. Point the toes back towards the face. Now we're feeling a hamstring stretch. My mat still doesn't feel straight. It still feels crooked, even though I fixed it at the beginning of class. All right, let's come back here forward into our hamstring stretch. And let's see if we can plant that right hand now down on the ground. So press into that right hand. It's going to spin the heart space open as left arm reaches up, or of course behind the head. And of course, option to curl the back toes and lift the knee. Actually, like I said, takes a bit of strength, but it gives the knee a little break. So don't be afraid to try the strong option here. Keep scissoring the legs strong and tight. Keep reaching, keep spinning the heart space open. We'll stay here for 2 more rounds of breath. On the exhale, let's lower the knee down. We'll twist back down towards the mat. Uncurl the toes, send the hips back again. Find that hamstring stretch. All right, let's come forward. And let's see if we can all walk ourselves up, still sinking the hips if we can. Remember, you can double up the mat if it's a little bit much on the legs. And then we'll take a big inhale here, find our cactus arms or our outstretched arms, and then we're going to turn towards the bent leg. Arms are either in cactus, reaching out, maybe they're behind your head, whatever works. Twist from the core, keep equal weight in the legs, and the hips are still facing this way. So we're twisting through the core here. Take a big breath and reach, reach, reach. And if you have these outstretched arms and you want to even extend this sort of low warrior, reach for the opposite leg at the back, reach the right arm up. It's a big side twisty stretch. It's juicy, but it's deep. If you're not into it, no problem. Let's come back here through center. Remember, we could have cactus arms, no problem. We're going to turn forward, lower down. Find that hamstring stretch one more time. Come forward, find your tabletop just so that we can sweep the leg back behind us. And again, like before, find child's pose, or maybe cat-cow, or maybe a few barrel rolls. Just sort of shake it all out, roll it out. Okay, let's give the knees a little break here. If we want, we can come and sit onto our sitting bones here. We might come back to our knees in a little bit, but for now we'll give them a little break. Let's come into our butterfly. So we can bring the soles of the feet together, maybe grabbing onto ankles, soles of feet, or toes. Up the wings a little bit. Let's just see how we're feeling. I'm going to open up through the inner thighs a little bit. We were doing some hip flexor stuff, hamstring stuff. Let's see how those inner thighs are feeling. All right, let's pause here, find those sit bones, and then maybe lean forward if it feels good with a long back, pressing elbows into knees, or maybe even rounding down. And you can use the weight of your elbows or the strength of your glutes to try and open up deeper if that feels good. And then let's come up to seated. And from here, let's just open up that right leg and just tuck the left foot in a little bit more. So we're sort of in a one-legged wide forward fold here, or seated position. And from here, let's turn first towards the outstretched leg and start to walk ourselves down over that leg. Now what we want to try and do is we want to think about walking over the edge of the toes, not down towards our thighs. So keep walking, walking, walking. Staying here, you can round down if it feels good, trying to stay grounded and heavy through the opposite foot. And then let's come on up a little bit and turn this into a side twist. So now what we want to do is actually turn to face this short leg. I know that sounds a little strange. We're still going to this leg. We're still going to be bending towards the outstretched leg. But we want to turn our attention to this short bent leg here. And we'll reach out again along the length of the right leg, sweep the left arm up, and then we're going to side bend towards the outstretched right leg. So let this right arm support you. It might be down on the ground. It might be on the leg, the foot, a brick, a block, excuse me, whatever, wherever you can find support here. But by turning our torso here, what we've done is we've created a proper side bend towards the outstretched leg. So unlike the first stretch where our heart space was reaching towards the toes, now we're thinking about reaching the heart space up towards the ceiling, and these top fingers are trying to reach overhead and grab those toes. Ooh, it's also a pretty intense stretch. Let's stay here for 3. Coming back to our mantra for 2. And 1. With an inhale, let's come all the way back up. Let's let the left hand find the ground behind us. And as we continue to use a bit of momentum with the right arm, we'll sweep it up and over, lift the hips up, just open up a little bit of a counter stretch here, big open stretch. And then come on back down. Good, let's switch sides. So left leg comes open, right leg tucks in, finding those sit bones. And to begin with, just like last time, we're going to turn our torsos to the long leg. Toes are flexed. And we're going to try and walk our heart space over the edge of those toes. So we're going to start to walk towards the edge of the toes. Staying here, option to melt down if it feels okay, option to stay with a long spine, depending on where you're looking for sensation. I find like with a longer spine, it might feel a bit more stretched down the side body. If you round down, of course, you'll be able to splay the shoulder blades and breathe into the backside body. So whatever works best for you here. Take a few breaths. And then we'll walk ourselves back up. We're not done with this leg, as we know. We're going to turn our bodies towards the short leg, reach out again along the length of the left leg. Right arm sweeps up and over. So here we are creating this side stretch again, stay grounded through the right sit bone, making sure the heart space is trying to reach up and open towards the ceiling, rooting down wherever it feels comfortable with the left arm, right arm reaching up and over for those toes. They may or may not make it, but now we have a nice deep side bend here. Coming back to our breath for 3. Breathing into side body for 2. And 1. A bit of momentum. Let's come up and let's plant that right hand. Left arm sweeps up. A bit of momentum to help us open up. Feel a nice big stretch. And then come on back down. All right, let's get back to our knees just for a couple of poses. So we'll bring the left leg in. If it's comfortable, roll onto the shins, and we'll do a few variations of camel. So there's a nice low variation that I love, and you stay on your shins like this. I'll just turn to the side a little bit, and we can reach back, open up through the heart space here, root down through the hands if we can, and lift the hips. It's a nice big stretch. Or we can come up onto our knees, and here we really want to stack our joints. So we're back up on our knees. If this is not for you, take that first option. I might join you there after I demonstrate this option. Knees under hips, so squeeze that bum. Tuck the tailbone. We want to keep this nice, strong alignment here. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Hands here. Options 1, they come to the back of the body, elbows squeeze together. They help push the hips forward, open up through the heart space, lifting up and out of the hips. We don't want to hurt that low back. And then using core strength to come back up. Now, if it's in your practice to reach back for one or both elbows, one or both ankles, of course, we could reach up with one hand, both hands, but if you come to both, what we have to try and do is align those hips over top of the knees. So this is a super deep stretch. I'm not sure it's in the cards for me, but there are your options. So Let's take a breath. Come back to our motto, I am grounded, I am calm. Whatever yours is for a couple rounds of breath here. And then let's choose the option of our big front side body opening that works best for our body. You've got your camel, one arm, two arm, or this nice low version that I'm gonna take. And low doesn't necessarily mean easy, it just means what feels best for you in your body today. So I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna lean back. Hands can come to the mat if you're taking this one. Fingers can face out to the side or towards the back, whatever feels best. And we can start with a lifting of the heart space. Push into the mat, squeeze shoulder blades and open up. This might be enough. Or we also might want to squeeze the glutes, lift the hips. Coming into our camel here. Taking a few rounds of breath. And on the exhale, lowering down. Let's come out of it here by pressing and using core strength to come up. We won't fold forward just yet. We're going to do another round. For those of you who are choosing one arm and one ankle, you might want to switch sides for this second round. When we're ready, let's lean back, find that grounding of the palms into the earth, squeezing the shoulder blades, opening up through the heart center, and then if it's in our practice, lifting the hips up. Let's stay for 3, 2, and 1. Lower down, use some strength to come on up. And then if we like, with either knees drawn together or finding space between the knees, folding forward into child's pose or rabbit pose or any counter pose here, round through the spine. And then when we're ready, let's bring the hands forward, lift the forehead, and we'll find our way to our final resting posture. Now that can be down on the ground, lying down. I'm going to choose to stay seated. Whatever feels best for you. Today I just want to bookend my practice with a seated opening and a seated closing. It's up to you if you want to go all the way back down onto your back with knees straight or bent. Wherever we're landing here, let's take a few moments to, if it's comfortable, close the eyes and scan our bodies. Taking a few breaths, letting it out, noticing if we're holding on to any tension anywhere, and just see if we can't let it go. Breathe a little loving kindness that way. Maybe even checking in with our breath in our bodies and seeing how different it may or may not feel from the beginning of class. You might feel different, you may not. There's no right or wrong. Shavasana is the time for our physical and energetic bodies to absorb all that good work we just did and turn it into something magical. It's a time for integration and rest. And know that rest is different from sleep and that we need both every day, and we should never pass up an opportunity to just rest and do nothing. Of course, the beauty of practicing through the lens is if you want or need to stay in Shavasana for any longer, please just press pause or let the video play out and stay exactly as you are. If you are ready to wake your body up, bring a little movement to fingers and toes and wrists and ankles, and maybe choosing to stretch long one more time or curl into a little ball. And if you're not already there, making your way to a comfortable seated position where we can all take a big breath together. Inhale, sweep our arms up overhead, gather in all that good stretchy energy, draw it down towards heart center. You can rest your hands over your heart in prayer, or any way that feels comfortable for you. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide today and for allowing me into your personal private yoga practice spaces. It's truly an honor, and I can't wait to flow here with you again next week. Until then, take care. Thanks, everyone. I hope that that felt like exactly what you needed, and that if you are like me and you needed a little bit of grounding, that practice of staying on the mat and really trying to get deep into the stretches and moving slowly and with intention helped that energy come down. Until next week, take care. Bye.